Once again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our general mathematics class. Today, we'll talk about compound interest. As I mentioned earlier, last time we've talked about simple interest, and it's a type of interest wherein we base the interest or the increase, the tubo, on the original amount or the principal. Now, to start with, let's first recite today's memory verse. And it's found in Deuteronomy 23, verses 19 to 20. And your boosters is based on this one. You need to write your Christian business lesson number 2 out of this memory verse. It says, you shall not charge interest on loans to your brother, interest on money, interest on food, interest on anything that is lent for interest. You may charge a foreigner interest, but you may not charge your brother interest, that the Lord your God may bless you in all that you undertake in the land that you're entering to take possession of it. I remember when we were still kids, my brother would, whenever my brother would ask me for food, I would say, igbalik ka, duha na kabuok. I realized that's not okay, as the Bible says. Now, at the end of today's class, you'll be able to illustrate compound interest, distinguish between simple and compound interest, then compute for interest, maturity value, future value, and present value in compound interest environment. And the last one is solve problems involving compound interest. Here's another investment storyboard. So the other one, remember last time, they would have 30,000 to invest. So another story is investing in a compound bank. Say, hi, I'm considering investing my money here. Compound bank are humbled upon your decision. So what will be the interest rate? It will be 5%, ma'am. How will I earn in 2 years if I were to invest $500,000? Would it be compounded annually? Then it's the yes. How will I earn if I were to invest 500,000? So the computation was there, and it ends up with investing. Now, what is a compound interest? Or here are some terms to be defined. The maturity value, remember last time, the resulting value that you will have after a certain time, you call that the future value or the maturity value. In this one, we also call it compound amount. In simple interest, the tubo is simply called interest. Here, we can call it compound interest. Then, the frequency of conversion, the N, is the number of times that the principal will be compounded in 1 year. So, for example, if we say compounded annually, it means once a year. So, N equals 1. But if we say compounded monthly, then that's going to be 12 times in a year. So N will be equal to 12. The interest rate per conversion is called periodic rate. That's R over N. Now, here's an illustration on compound interest. For example, I borrow the money of 20,000. That's a 10% interest. So after 1 year, it will become 22,000. In the next year, the interest will be based on my outstanding amount, no longer on the 20,000. Remember, in simple interest, 10% of 20,000 is only 2,000. So it would mean we'll just add 2,000 per year. But here, in the second year, we already added 2,200. Why? Because the interest is based on the outstanding balance. So that's going to be 2,200. In the third year, wait first. In the third year, the interest will be based on its outstanding balance at 24,200. So that's going to be 2,420, the 10%. And as you notice, the amount that I'm adding keeps on increasing, not only the 2,000 pesos. Why? Because the interest is based on the outstanding balance at the end of each year or at the end of each compounding period. So if you compound it monthly, then the amount will change every month. If you compound it semi-annually, the amount will change every 6 months. Now, how do we compute for compound interest? It's going to be A, the compound amount, equals P, that is the principal, times 1 plus R is the interest rate in decimal over N, the frequency of conversion, to the power of N, the same N here, times T, the number in years. If you are looking for the compound interest, then that's going to be compound amount minus the principal. That is the tubo or the compound interest. Let's have the problems. Let's start with problem number 1. If 320,000, that's the principal, is invested for 5 years, time at 8%, that's the interest rate, compounded quarterly, so 4 times a year, that's the N. Find the compound amount and the compound interest. Let's start first with the compound amount. That's going to be A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the power of NT. The principal is 320,000. You multiply it by 1 plus R over N to the power of N times T. Now, if you have a 4-line calculator like this one, I suggest that you type the whole thing in your 4-line calculator. Do not make any round-offs in the inside first because it will make a difference. But if you're only using a 2-line calculator, you start with the inside, then you just work on the ands. Ands raised to this number, then multiplied with 320,000. Do not keep on rounding off because it will make a difference in the final answer. So using your formula, the compound amount is 503 pesos and 17 centavos. Let's look for the compound interest. That's going to be compound amount minus the principal. So the 475, you subtract 320,000. The answer, 475, 503.17 minus 15550, minus 320,000. The answer for the compound interest is 155,503.17. Any questions? No questions? Shall I go to the next problem? In the next problem, you want to start saving money. You place a time deposit in Bank F for 50,000. It's the principal. With the interest rate of 5%, compounded twice a year. It means 2 times a year. How much will be the money after 5 years? How much will be the money after 5 years? We're looking for the future value. We say the maturity value. We also call it the compound amount. So A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the power of NT. That is going to be, what's our P? 50,000 times 1 plus 0.05 over 2 to the power of 2 times 5. Using your calculator, the answer will be 64,004.23. Any questions? No questions? Let's go to the next problem. The next problem. What amount must be invested here? What amount must be invested? So it means that we are looking for the present amount. The present amount is the principal that's missing. In order for you to have 128,000, that's a future value. That's the compound amount. After 8 years time, if money is worth 6% interest rate, compounded semi-annually, how many times in a year? 2. So we're looking for the principal, but we'll still use the same formula. Our compound amount is 128,376.52. Principal is missing. 1 plus R over N to the power of N times T. In order to leave you with P, you can divide both sides by this number. So we divide it by this. Also the other side. So we can now cancel this one. Then to solve for P, you could type this immediately in your calculator. That's 128,376.52 divided by 1 plus 0.06 divided by 2 to the power of 16. The answer will be 80,000. What will happen if I'll solve this one first before I'll divide it? There might be a slight gap in the answer. Anyways, your quiz today for online students is in multiple choice. So you choose the nearest answer in case you're using a 2-line calculator. The next one, problem number 4. You plan to invest in a high-risk mutual fund of Bank F, which will give you 5% compounded monthly. How many times in a year? 12 times at 5% interest rate. In 5 years, that's our time. You target to earn a future value. Remember, the future value is also our compound amount of 1 million. The question is, how much should you invest today? That's the present value. We also call it the principal. So we can have A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the power of NT. Since we're looking for the principal, actually you can divide both sides by 1 plus R over N to the power of NT. So we can use this formula right away when we're looking for the principal. Our A is 1 million. That's why I told you, you need to have your index cards for formulas so you can derive it right away. 1 plus R over N to the power of N times T. Okay, that one. Using your calculator, the answer will be 779,205 pesos and 39 centavos. There. Any questions? You can start writing this. This is the formula for if principal is missing. The next one. If you see the next one, the interest rate is missing. You check on the first one. Joshua wants to buy a car worth 800,000. He currently has 300,000 and plans to borrow the remaining 500,000 through the bank. So it will be borrowed to the bank is only the 500,000. Bank A offers an interest rate of 8% per year for 3 years. Where interest is computed, this one is in simple interest. Bank B offers an interest rate of 7%. It's lower, right? Same time for 3 years, but compounded monthly, so 12 times a year. Both banks require payments only at the end of 3 years. Which bank's loan product should you choose? Now, for Bank A, it's computed in simple interest, while for Bank B, it's computed at compound interest. So let's have first the simple interest for Bank A. Remember last time? Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. The principal is 500,000. The interest rate is 0.08. The time is in 3 years. So in 3 years, your 500,000 will become what it will increase by 120,000. That is our interest. You add the maturity value from the principal, you add 500,000, your maturity value will be 620,000. How about for Bank B? Let's compute for the compound amount. Principal times 1 plus R over N to the power of NT. Principal is at 500,000 times 1 plus R, 0.07 over 12 to the power of 12 times 3. So the compound amount will be 616,462.79. So if I were Joshua, I'll go for what number? Now, you might be allured with the 620,000 because it's bigger. But remember, this is not an investment. This is a loan. So if you have 500,000 as a loan, you want to pay the one with less interest charges. So you choose Bank B. Why? Because in Bank B, you will just pay less. However, if this is an investment, you go for Bank A because it will give you more. Questions? No other questions? Let's go down to problem number 6, the last 2 problems. Instead of letting their son borrow money from the bank, Joshua's parents give him an additional 300,000, and Joshua decides to place all his funds into a time deposit account. If he is willing to wait 3 years, at what interest rate should he be investing his money at compounding interest to raise 800,000? So still Joshua wanted to raise 800,000. How much is the present money? 300,000. Why? 600. Because remember, in the previous problem, Joshua currently has 300,000, and his parents gave him 300,000 more. So the principal will be 600,000 more. Now, the interest rate is missing in 3 years' time, and it only says compounding interest. It's silent. And if it's silent, we assume it to be compounding annually. So we just write 1 for Rn. Let's have A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the power of NT. Our A is 800,000. Our P is 600,000. 1 plus R is missing. It remains R. N is 1. So the power of N1 times 3. Now, we have 600,000 here. You can divide both sides by 600,000. So you can cancel it. What remains on the right is only 1 plus R to the power of 3. In the left side, 800,000 divided by 600,000, that's going to be 4 over 3. Next, you check the exponent. It's 3, right? So to eliminate the exponent, we need to multiply both sides by the cube root, because the exponent is 3. If your exponent is 20, then you need to have both sides by the 20th root. If your exponent is 2, then have both sides by the square root. So we'll cancel this. What's left on the right is 1 plus R. On the left, we have 1.1006. But if you want to be certain, you could just leave this as it is. Transfer 1 to the other side. So we have R equals 1.1006 minus 1. So our R now is 0.006. Sorry, 1.1006. And since it's a rate, we need to write it in percentage. So the rate is 10.06%. Any questions?
Wala mga tana, ma'am.
Sure.
What if ang kanang frequency of conversion gani ma'am naa gani number? Or I mean kanang mas taas kaysa sa 1?
Yes, example. Because we'll have a let me have an example, okay? 100,000 equals 50,000. 1 plus R over 3, like that one, right? I know, because it's also in the quiz. Divide both sides by 50,000. So cancel now. On the left-hand side, actually, I like to stay the left-hand side as it is if it's not a fixed number. But for here, we can have 2. So 1 plus R over 3 raised to the power of 15. Then, since it's the exponent is 15, we need to have both sides in the 15th root. So cancel now. I'll not compute for the root first, okay? So what's left is 15th root of 2. I'll do it at one time. equals 1 plus r over 3. Next, transfer 1 to the other side. So we have fifth root of 2 minus 1 equals r over 3. To eliminate 3, I need to multiply both sides by a whole number of 3. So r now is equal to 3 times 15th root of 2 gawas pagid minus 1. In problem number 7, it says, how long will it take 4,000 to accumulate to 5,500 pesos at 9% compounded semi-annually? Now, based on the problem, the question is how long? So we're looking for the time, and time is expressed in years. 4,000 is your principal, and your future amount is 5,500. At 9%, that's the interest rate, compounded semi-annually, so 2 times in a year. So we're now looking for the time. Now, how do we solve for the time? Let's first have A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the power of NT. And at the end of this, let us check if I can give you the derived formula. We have 5,500 equals 4,000 times 1 plus R over N to the power of N times T. T is missing. So the principal is given. We divide both sides by the principal. Actually, I seldom derive the formula because I don't want to remember too many formulas. So I just remember the main formula and I work from there. So solving on the left-hand side, that's 1 point. Okay. Once again, let's have the formula. That's going to be A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N to the power of NT. So our A is 5,500 equals 4,000 for P times 1 plus R over N to the power of 2 times T. Divide both sides by the principal, the 4,000. So your left-hand side will have 1.375. The right-hand side will have 1 plus 0.045 to the power of 2t. Now, it feels like we have a number on the left and a number on the right. The exponent is having a variable. So if that will be the case, you need to express both sides in logarithmic. You place log on the left side. You also place log on the right side. The power of 2t. And since we have the exponent, we need to expand it. Remember, the exponent goes first, right? 2t log of 1.045. The right-hand side is log of 1.375. For t to remain, we need to divide both sides by 2 log of 1.045. So divide both sides by 2 log of 1.045. So 2 is canceled, the log is also canceled. With that, the value of t is 3.6174. In 2 decimal places, we say that's 3.62 years. Any questions for this one? Main question, can I give the derived formula for t? Yes. T, okay, take note of this. If you're looking for t, that will be log of a over p divided by, please bear with me, I'm just doing it with my eyes to check, divided by 2. 2 is the n. Divided by n times log 1 plus r over n. This is now the formula for t. You can copy it. It's not in the module. That's t equals log a over p all over n times log of 1 plus r over n. Any questions? No questions? Your quiz will be open by 8:30. We stop the recording first.